Hi, guys, and welcome back to our series on the basics of self-publishing. Today, we are going to dive into an essential part of publishing your print book, how to choose the right trim, size, and fonts. These decisions might seem small, but they have a huge impact on your book's professional presentation and reader experience. By the end of this video, you'll know how to select the perfect trim size for your genre and the best fonts to enhance readability and aesthetics. So let's get started. Okay, first of all, what is trim size? And I'm not gonna lie, I kind of had to look this up, but essentially it refers to the final dimensions of your book after it's printed and trimmed. For example, a popular trim size for fiction is 5 by 8, while textbooks might be 8.5 by 11. I will show you uh, mine. I always like to do 8.5 by or 5.5 by 8.5. And so it looks like this, right? So this is just kind of an example of that. So the trim size determines how your book feels in readers' hands, how much text fits on each page, and your printing costs. Larger books are probably going to cost more to print. So choosing the right trim size is all about balancing genre expectations, costs, and aesthetics. So here is a quick guide to common trim sizes based on genre. So for novels, romance, thrillers, anywhere between 5 by 8 or 6 by 9. Smaller sizes feel cozy and fit the genre expectations, whereas nonfiction, so like self-help, business, that's going to be 6 by 9 or potentially 7 by 10. Slightly larger trim sizes allow for diagrams, charts, and other things for easier readability. And then children's books, that might be picture books, 8.5 by 8.5, which would be a square, or 8 by 10. And chapter books would be 5.25 by 8. Yes, I actually looked all of this up just for you guys. But an academic or a reference book, so those textbooks, the standard is 8.5 by 11. So larger sizes make these books easier to use for note-taking or studying. Pro tip, browse books in your genre and note their trim sizes. Matching reader expectations can help your book look more professional and appealing. And again, you know how much I love reader expectations. And yes, it actually does translate into print books on top of everything else you have to do. So, what are some factors to choose when considering a trim size? So keep in mind, again, genre expectations. We've already gone into this, but essentially readers are accustomed to certain sizes for specific genres. Word count and page count. So smaller trim sizes result in more pages, while larger sizes reduce the page count. Consider how your choice affects your printing costs and the book's perceived value. Another thing, speaking of that, is the printing costs themselves. Platforms like Amazon KDP and Ingram Spark charge based on page count, so a larger trim size can lower costs by reducing pages. And then the reader experience, and this is probably your most important one. A comfortable trim size ensures that the book is easy to hold and read. A pro tip is use Amazon KDP's pricing calculator to test how your trim size impacts your production costs and your royalties. When you go through and upload your paperback book, it will give you an estimate of how much your author copies will cost. Author copies are essentially, you get, Amazon is completely print on demand, so POD. What that means is Amazon is not going to have these books ready unless somebody orders the book. As an author, you are only charged at cost. So everything it takes to make the book, you will be charged for. So for example, I think this cost $4 and some change because it is, I think it's 80,000 words. It's around 80,000 words. Let me see how many pages. It's about 298 pages. I just finished a book. That's the print size is going to be 330 pages, and that's about a $5 book, $5.04 or something like that. So what that means is, let's say I want to do a festival or a farmer's market. I can order copies of these books at cost. So even if I'm setting the price at, let's say, $14.99 for this book, I only have to pay $5 as the author. But it will definitely give you an estimate of how much that costs as you are putting in your information. So I hope that that makes sense. So what is the role of fonts in your print book design? So we have to talk about fonts because they play a critical role in readability. So your your readers should not struggle to read your book. Your genre fit. So fonts set the tone for your book. A serif font is potentially great for a historical novel, but definitely not for a sci-fi thriller. And professionalism. Amateur font choices can make even a great book look unpolished. I'm looking at you, Comic Sans. So choosing the right font ensures that your book looks and feels professional. So here are a couple of examples of fonts for print books, serif fonts. So, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing this. Garamond, Times New Roman, Palatino, Baskerville. You can, for your titles or your headings, like sans serif fonts, Arial, Helvetica, and Futura, whatever. Decorative fonts, which you should use sparingly. They are great for chapter headers, but I definitely would not recommend using them in your body, right? Stick to 11 to 12 point font for body text and slightly larger for headings or chapter titles. Avoid overly small fonts. They're really hard to read. Again, if you have a formatting software like Vellum, I don't even have to think about this. Like, it just does everything for me. It's readable. The size I would assume is, I'm assuming it's 11 or 12, something like that. And then like you have like the, the headers, like it takes care of everything for me, right? And when you generate your files, you will have a print book and you will have the file for the print book and everything will be formatted and everything will look pretty, okay? But before finalizing your choices, you should always test them. So you can utilize formatting tools like Free Tools, Readsy Book Editor, Google Docs that allow you to adjust the margins and fonts to preview your layout. But what I recommend, premium tools like Atticus or Vellum make formatting so easy and they give you full control over your trim sizes and your font styles. Order proof copies. So while you are uploading your print book, you have the option to order proof copies. This is different than author copies. A proof copy will have a little line and it'll say proof copy not for resale or something, but it kind of like makes the cover like because your job with the proof copy is to go through and make sure that it looks good, it reads good. Some people really like to hold their book in their hand and read through it like an actual reader and catch any mistakes that way. If you're asking me, I don't. I write so many books that I don't do proof copies. I just don't do them. They're not a requirement. I think that Vellum gives me enough previews and Amazon will let me go through with both the ebook and the print book in order to go through to make sure everything's good. Now, granted, I will say nothing beats having it just to have it, right? And to look through it as one final kind of making sure, but I don't really utilize them. And another thing that you might want to do is potentially solicit feedback. Again, it's not a requirement, but if you have questions and you have authors that not only you trust, but that have experience, definitely reach out and ask. But that's basically it. Everything you need to know about choosing the right trim size and fonts, guys. Like, I didn't even think about all of this until I started like researching this video. And I learned stuff. So I hope it was helpful and not super boring. Remember, again, these details may seem small, but they really do have a big impact on your book's professionalism, your reader experience, and your brand as a whole. If you did find this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on more self-publishing tips. If you have questions about trim sizes or fonts, feel free to drop them in the comments. I would love to help. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.